Cliff slid the folder across the table and said my performance was below expectations. I sat there and nodded. What he didn't know was that I'd been building a case against him for 2 months. The text I got 4 minutes earlier told me I was right to start. My name is Wade Holloway, 49 years old, Senior Project Manager at Bridgepoint Solutions, a construction tech software company out of Dallas, Texas. 20 years in this industry. I know how to read a room, read a contract, and read a person. I almost didn't see this one coming, but almost is the key word. Cliff Reardon had been my boss for 8 months. He recruited me personally, called me exactly what this team needs, said Bridgepoint was ready to scale and he wanted someone with real field experience running the charge. First 2 weeks, it felt exactly like that. Then I started paying attention. My first major project was the Hartwell Group rollout. Regional infrastructure firm needed a full software implementation from scratch. I put in the hours, built a custom onboarding sequence, coordinated directly with their ops team for 6 weeks straight. When we went live, 0 critical errors. Jim Hartwell called me personally to say it was the smoothest implementation they'd ever done. Cliff was CC'd on that email. 2 weeks later, Cliff presented the Hartwell rollout to the executive team as a model case study, used it to justify a budget increase for his division. My name appeared once in a footnote. I told myself it was politics, that I needed to earn my place. I was new. Then it happened with the project sequencing model I built. Then with the client communication framework I developed for 3 mid-size accounts. Every time the same pattern, Cliff would publicly find something wrong with my work in front of the team, then quietly absorb it into his own presentations a few weeks later. I started watching the rest of the team more carefully. Sloane Decker had been at Bridgepoint for 9 years. She was sharp, the kind you notice in the first 10 minutes. But she second-guessed herself before every meeting now. Tanner Briggs, our software engineer, barely spoke unless Cliff asked him a direct question. Ren Alcott, newest PM on the team, already looked hollowed out after 6 weeks on the job. One afternoon, I overheard Ren on the phone in the break room, voice low. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. He said the report was substandard, but last week he sent it to the client himself and called it excellent. I recognized that confusion. 2 months in, I almost fell for it too. Then I caught myself and started keeping records. The morning of my performance review, there was a plain business card on my desk when I arrived. No name, just a phone number and 3 words. Call if needed. I didn't have time to think about it. Cliff summoned me to the conference room at 9 a.m. The room felt smaller than usual. Glass walls, colleagues walking past outside. Cliff had a folder in front of him and the practiced expression of a man who had done this before. Wade, your project timelines have been inconsistent. Client feedback indicates concerns about your approach. I kept my face neutral. 8 months. In that time, I had restructured the onboarding process for 3 major clients, rebuilt a project tracking system the team had been asking about for 2 years, and increased client retention by 22% on every account I touched. I had the numbers, I had the emails, I had a client who called me personally to say thank you. I'm particularly concerned about the Hartwell account rollout, Cliff continued, still not looking up. The execution didn't reflect the strategic thinking we expect at this level. I started to respond. He held up a hand. Let me finish. The Hartwell account. My project from day one, Jim Hartwell had emailed the entire executive team praising it. Cliff knew that. Cliff had forwarded that email with a note saying, "Great team effort." My phone buzzed in my jacket pocket. I don't check my phone during serious meetings. But something made me glance down for just a second. Unknown number. Dallas area code, 4 words on the screen. Don't react. He's recording. I looked up. Cliff was watching me. I gave him a small nod, like I was just checking the time, and slipped the phone away. Then I noticed 2 things at once. His company phone was face down on the table. Cliff never put his phone down. He kept it in his chest pocket like a wallet. And his jacket was sitting wrong, slightly angled on the left side, like something small was underneath it. I leaned back and said nothing. Your teammates have expressed concerns about collaboration, he said. Can you share your thoughts on how you work with the rest of the team? I knew what this was. Say something even slightly negative about a colleague and he'd have it on tape. He could edit it, clip it, present it as evidence of a toxic attitude. I think everyone on the team brings real value, I said. No complaints from my end. His jaw tightened just slightly. He shuffled papers. Let's discuss Sloane's presentation last week. You seemed frustrated. Sloane had presented my project sequencing methodology because Cliff had reassigned the lead role to her the night before without telling me until 7 a.m. that morning. I had built that framework over 6 weeks. Sloane did a solid job, I said. Cliff looked at me for a long second. I need to step out briefly, he said. Review these improvement metrics while I'm gone. He pushed a document toward me and left. I waited, 5 seconds, 10. Then I scanned the room slowly. The plant in the corner near the credenza. A small black device tucked between the leaves, red light blinking slow and steady. I walked back to my chair before the door opened. Cliff came back with a fresh coffee and set it down like nothing had happened. "Now, where were we?" he said. Not a question. "Ah, yes, I'll need you to sign this acknowledgement that we've discussed your areas of concern." He slid a second document across the table. Dense text, a performance improvement plan with a signature line at the bottom. I read through it. 3 pages of alleged failures, missed timelines that weren't missed, client concerns that didn't exist, a pattern of substandard strategic thinking on projects that clients had praised directly. None of it reflected anything that had actually happened. I thought about Perry Stanton. I'd called him 2 weeks earlier when I first suspected something like this was coming. Perry is a business attorney I've worked with before, straightforward guy. He told me one thing clearly: if they put a PIP in front of you, don't refuse to sign. Refusing gives them grounds to escalate immediately, insubordination on top of performance issues. Sign it, note your objection, and fight it later with documentation. So I signed it, wrote, "Signed under protest, does not constitute agreement with contents" next to my name. Cliff watched me do it and said nothing. I walked back to my desk with the business card still in my pocket. My hands weren't shaking. That surprised me a little. I waited until lunch. Then I went to the parking garage, found a quiet corner on level 2, and dialed the number. A woman answered on the second ring. "I've been waiting for your call," she said, calm, measured. "My name is Renee Holt. I was Cliff's operations manager for 3 years. You're not the first person he's done this to. I'd never heard that name before. How do you know about me?" "Sloan called me," she said. "She said you were documenting things and not breaking. She wanted me to know that tracked." Sloan had been at Bridgepoint long enough to see 3 operations managers come and go. She'd known Renee and kept in touch after Renee left. She hadn't said anything to me directly, but she'd been watching. The recording device in the conference room, I said. "That is standard approach, one of several," Renee said. "He provokes you into saying something negative about a colleague or gets you to admit to an imagined failing. Then he edits it and presents it to leadership as evidence of attitude problems. Sometimes he doesn't even need to edit it. He just controls the context. How long did you watch this before you left?" A pause. 3 years. "I'm not proud of that." She wasn't looking for absolution, so I didn't offer any. "What do you have?" "Exit interviews. 4 of them from the past 18 months. HR conducted them as standard procedure. Cliff convinced the director to seal them as baseless complaints from disgruntled employees. I kept copies because I was responsible for filing HR documentation, and I never deleted my backups." Another pause. "I also have original project files showing work Cliff claimed as his own, metadata timestamps intact, and internal emails where he told the executive team a project was in trouble while simultaneously telling the client it was exceeding targets." I stood there in the parking garage for a moment. "That's exactly what I've been building from my end," I said. "I know, that's why I'm talking to you." That evening I called Perry again. He reminded me that Texas is a one-party consent state. Every meeting I'd recorded as a participant was legal. The documentation I'd been building for 2 months was solid. Then he said one more thing. "Whatever I was planning, make sure the facts do the talking, not the emotion." I already knew that, but it was good to hear it out loud. I called Sloan that night. She picked up on the first ring. "You talked to Renee," she said. "Yeah, good." A long exhale. I should have done something sooner. I kept telling myself it wasn't that bad, that maybe I really was the problem. "You weren't," I said. "I know that now." She was quiet for a second. "What are we doing?" "Building something he can't talk his way out of," I said. "Are you in?" I've been waiting 9 years for someone to ask me that. I called Tanner Briggs next. He was quieter on the phone, more careful with his words. He'd been at Bridgepoint for 4 years and watched 2 project managers leave before me. He knew exactly what was happening. He just hadn't seen a way out. "I need secure backups of every original project file I've created since I started," I told him. "Metadata intact. Only from files I've sent to personal accounts. Nothing from company servers." "Already started," he said. "I figured something like this was coming." Brent Navarro was last. He's our client implementation specialist, the one who interfaces directly with accounts after a project goes live. He'd been quietly furious for months. Watching Cliff take bows in client meetings for work, Brent had executed on the ground. "I need you to reach out to Hartwell, Castillo Logistics, and the Dunmore Group," I said. "Standard client check-in. If they're willing, ask if they'd be comfortable writing a letter of commendation directly to Neil Hargrove. Bypass Cliff completely." "Jim Hartwell will do it in an hour," Brent said. "I guarantee it. Don't tell him why. Keep it routine, understood." We met that Saturday at a coffee shop 3 miles from the office. The four of us around a corner table. I laid it out the way I'd lay out any project plan, because that's what it was. Sloan handled the evidence timeline. Dates, files, emails, a clean chronological record of every project misattributed over the past 2 years. Tanner managed the technical backups and made sure every original file had verifiable timestamps. Brent worked the client angle and had all 3 letters committed within a week. I handled the final step. I hadn't told them what it was yet. I needed one more piece in place first. 6 weeks before the annual contractor summit, I submitted a speaker abstract through the event coordinator's public portal, the same one external speakers use. Title: Field Implementation Case Study, Reducing Client Onboarding Friction, Neutral, Routine, Professional. Cliff would have had to read every submission personally to catch it. He didn't. He assumed anything with a Bridgepoint name attached was a team contribution he could position himself to absorb afterward. That assumption is what finished him. The summit was Bridgepoint's biggest industry event of the year. 200 people, contractors, software leads, and our entire executive board. Cliff had been preparing his keynote for weeks. He called it 2 years of operational innovation, which was a polished way of describing what the rest of us had actually built. 3 weeks before the event, Neil Hargrove's assistant forwarded him 3 unsolicited letters of commendation, all citing Wade Holloway by name, all describing specific projects with specific outcomes, all landing on his desk with no covering note from Cliff, no context, no spin. I know this because Perry confirmed that Neil's assistant had reached out to him quietly, trying to understand the background. Perry told her to expect more context soon. That same week, Renee sent me an encrypted folder through a secure file transfer, exit interviews from 4 former employees, comparative project files with metadata, internal emails showing Cliff reporting project failures upward while simultaneously telling clients everything was excellent, 3 cases where he publicly rejected a team member's concept in a meeting, then presented the same concept to executives as his own thinking 6 weeks later. I added everything to the evidence file I'd been building since month 2. The night before the summit, I called Cole. He's 19 sophomore year at UT Austin. I told him work was going well, didn't tell him what was happening the next morning. He had enough to focus on, and I wasn't going to drop that on him the night before a Thursday. I slept fine. That surprised me more than the hands not shaking. The summit venue filled up fast, industry people, executives, a few media contacts. Cliff moved through the crowd the way he always did, confident, easy handshakes, laughing at the right moments. He was good at that part. I'll give him that. Our team stood near the back. Sloan, Tanner, Brent. None of us said much. We didn't need to. Cliff took the main stage at 10 a.m. to solid applause. The screen behind him lit up with 2 years of work. Our work. What you're seeing, he said, represents a unified operational philosophy I've developed and implemented across this division. A methodology built on strategic thinking and consistent execution. He clicked through slides, project after project, each one framed as a product of his vision and leadership. The Hartwell rollout, the sequencing model, the client communication framework, all of it presented as if it had flowed from one mind, his mind. I went on at 11:15. I walked up to the podium with a laptop, a clicker, and a printed folder. No notes beyond that. Jim Hartwell was in the 3rd row. Lucia Castillo from Castillo Logistics was 2 seats over. I had called both of them the week before and asked if they'd be willing to attend the summit as guest observers. Both said yes without asking for a reason. That told me everything I needed to know about how they felt about the work. I opened with the Hartwell rollout, pulled up the original project file, time-stamped. My name in the document properties, 6 weeks of methodology notes showing every decision point from intake through go live. This is the actual project record for the Hartwell Group implementation, I said, created by me 8 months ago over a 6-week build period. Then I put Cliff's executive presentation on the right side of the screen. Same structure, same language in the key sections, different author listed. The room went quiet in a specific way, not uncomfortable quiet. The quiet of people doing math in their heads. I moved to the sequencing model, same format. Original file on the left, Cliff's version on the right, timestamps showing a 9-week gap between my draft and his concept, then the client communication framework, then the Dunmore onboarding process. 4 projects, 4 side-by-side comparisons. I didn't editorialize. I just walked through the documentation the way you'd walk through a project audit. Date file, source date, file source. Cliff stood up from the front row. This is completely out of context, he said. His voice was controlled, but I could hear the edge in it. This presentation was not approved through proper channels, and these materials are being misrepresented. Jim, I said, looking at Hartwell directly. Based on your experience with the Hartwell implementation, would you describe the project direction as coming from field-level project management or from division leadership? Jim Hartwell stood up without being asked. He's a direct man, always has been. I dealt with Wade from day one, he said. He designed that rollout and he executed it. I said so in an email at the time that went to this entire company. Cliff turned to look at Jim. Then he looked at Lucia Castillo, who was already nodding before anyone said her name. Neil Hargrove was seated at the side of the room near the aisle. He hadn't moved. He was watching Cliff with the expression of a man recalculating something he thought he already understood. I'd seen that look before on job sites when a contractor realizes the foundation isn't where the blueprint said it was. Two executives near the back were leaning toward each other, talking quietly. An industry peer in the fourth row had pulled out a notepad. Cliff made one more attempt. He turned toward the event coordinator's table at the side of the room and started moving in that direction. Two people from building security, alerted in advance about a potential disruption to the technical setup, were already standing near the aisle. He stopped. I addressed the room directly. The work this team has produced over the past 2 years is real, and it is excellent, I said. It deserves to be attributed correctly. I pulled up one final slide. A clean grid showing every major project from the past 18 months, each one labeled with the actual name of the person who built it. Sloan's client retention framework, Tanner's system integration architecture, Brent's onboarding sequences for 4 mid-market accounts, my sequencing model and the Hartwell rollout, no footnotes, no team effort under the leadership of just names and work matched correctly. Sloan stood up from her seat near the back, then Tanner, then Brent. Nobody told them to. We hadn't planned that part. It just happened the way things sometimes do when people have been waiting a long time to stand somewhere without apologizing for it. Neil Hargrove rose from his chair near the aisle and walked toward the front of the room. He didn't look at me. He looked at Cliff. Step outside, he said. Quiet. No drama in it. Cliff looked around the room once, at the executives, at Jim Hartwell, at the industry peers with notepads out. Then he walked toward the exit door and didn't look back. The room held its breath for about 3 seconds. Then it didn't. Jim Hartwell crossed to where I was standing and shook my hand. Lucia Castillo was right behind him. 2 executives from the back of the room came forward with questions about the attribution system. An industry peer asked if we'd be willing to present the methodology at a regional conference in the spring. The summit continued without Cliff. It turned into something none of us had planned for. Not an exposure event, just a straightforward presentation of work that belonged to the people who did it. The next morning, Neil called our team into the conference room at 8 a.m. He didn't open with legal language or corporate positioning. He said, "I missed this for too long. That's on me." Then he sat down and got to work. Sloan was offered the Director of Project Operations role. She accepted before he finished the sentence. Tanner was given a dedicated systems architecture position with his own budget and direct reporting to Sloan. Brent took over client success operations. Renee Holt was brought back as a consultant to help restructure internal reporting and attribution processes. Neil offered me a new position, Operations Integrity Lead, responsible for building systems that ensure proper attribution, transparent reporting between management and project teams, and early identification of the kind of dynamics that had gone unchecked for 2 years. Salary, $122,000, up from $103,000. I asked him why me specifically. Because you fixed a broken system without breaking anything else in the process, he said. That's harder than it looks. Cliff applied to 3 firms in the months that followed. Word travels in this industry, not through gossip, but through HR networks and professional associations. He received polite rejections from all 3. The feedback was tactful but consistent. Concerns about attribution practices and management conduct. Ren Alcott came back 4 months after she resigned. She now leads new client onboarding under Sloan and hasn't second-guessed a single decision out loud since her first week back. Tanner speaks up in every meeting. Every single one. It took about 2 weeks after the summit for him to stop waiting to be called on first. Sloan is exactly as sharp as she was the day I met her. Turns out she always was. She just hadn't been allowed to show it for a long time. About 6 weeks after the summit, I received an email from someone I'd never met. A project manager at a construction firm in Phoenix. He'd heard about what happened at the summit through a mutual contact in the industry network. He wrote that he'd been dealing with something similar for almost a year and hadn't known how to approach it. He'd started documenting after hearing our story. His management had already opened a formal review. He wrote, "I didn't think you could fight this kind of thing without destroying your own career in the process. You showed me you could." I read that email twice. Then I forwarded it to Sloan, Tanner, and Brent with no message attached. They'd understand. I told Cole the short version over Thanksgiving dinner. He listened without interrupting, which for a 19-year-old is something. When I finished, he said, So you basically just documented everything and waited for the right moment. That's about right, I said. He thought about it. That's kind of cold-blooded, Dad. It's called being methodical, I said. He laughed. I didn't correct him. The thing is, I never set out to destroy Cliff Reardon. I set out to make sure he couldn't do it to anyone else. There's a real difference between those two things. When you've been around long enough, you understand that the goal isn't to make someone pay. The goal is to make the situation impossible to ignore. Documentation does that, patience does that, and knowing exactly when to stop waiting and walk up to a podium. If you've ever had your work taken, your name left off something you built, or been made to feel smaller than you are by someone who needed you to stay small, you already know what I'm talking about. You know the specific feeling of sitting across a table from someone reading out a list of failures that aren't yours, and having to decide in that moment whether you're going to absorb it or do something about it. I chose to do something about it. It took time, it took people I trusted, and it took keeping my mouth shut at exactly the right moments. If you're in that situation right now, start documenting. Find your Sloan and your Tanner, and don't react when the phone buzzes. You'll know when the time is right.